Hey everybody, welcome back to Sergeant's Talk TV. I'm Big Mike. I don't hear normal size Jason. Hmm. Anyway, guys, I guess I'm here. If he shows up, then I will be absolutely happy. Hey, tonight we're going to be talking about some bizarre or weird rules, regulations, and laws within the U.S. military. Because the military can be a strict. Whoa! Were you brushing your teeth?
Uh, hey, guess what? It's 8 o'clock. I
Yeah, it's
gotta
eight
stop
o'clock.
working. Holy
You were still
moly.
working?
We were, and I was like, it's getting kind of dark. Is it? Oh gosh, it's 8 o'clock. I better.
Terry said after we watched your video today, she says he's probably rewiring the rewiring of the rewiring that Tara wanted.
Of the moving, of the. Oh,
Dude, I could see it in your eyes. Your face gave it away when she says, well, maybe it's kind of like those, where you're moving. No, put it, no, not over there. Put it over here. No, put it over there.
yeah. And that's always the fun part was, uh, all of it is trying to, like, it's basically one big experiment for us of what's going to work where, what's not going to work where. And you would think by now I've got used to moving things 100 times, but
There you go.
still, when it goes on, uh, I'm like, how many more times can we move it? And a
Yeah.
lot of doing that back wall and stuff really made the difference of where the stove goes. Like, I don't want to put
Right.
metal on the other wall, and um,
All
I
right.
can't even find the notes for this week.
But anyway, so like I said, the military can be pretty strict. You go in and you go, they tell you something that you can't do, and you go, really? That's not a crime on the outside. That's really weird. But guess what? It's a private club. Think of it that way. They got their own rules, they got their own regulations, and they got their own laws under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And one of the codes underneath there is Article 134 of the UCMJ, and that is the catch-all. Okay, that is when they can't find nothing else, and let's say you're a sergeant, unbecoming of a non-commissioned officer. Okay. So when all else fails, you pull that rabbit out of your hat, and you apply that one. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And hey, could you hack it under those conditions? So I picked out 10 that we're going to discuss tonight. And they're pretty much the ones a lot of people violate and they get in trouble over.
Yeah.
But before we do that, let's say hello to everybody in the chat. Let me scroll back up. There we go. See, there's Chris over at Mr. Leonard Mountain Homestead. Welcome in. There's Devil Dog. I'm sure he violated a few things.
No, not
He
the,
just
not Eddie. Eddie would never do anything.
Eddie. No, Eddie. He kind of reminds me. He had probably a little of a temper. Um, I'm not saying that he would commit a felony while he's in there, but I'm sure he kind of spoke his mind
He
a
probably
time
got a few
before.
things done without, the proper channels and asking permission. I mean, that's the only way we're supposed to do it, right?
Yeah. There's Debbie Droch.
Hello,
Welcome in.
Deb. Um,
Let's see. There's our favorite female Marine. There's Dawn at our flippin' farmstead.
absolutely. Can we say hi to Ralph at Webb's Web?
There he is right there. Good to see you, Ralph. Um,
Big D said he wouldn't have been nearly as patient and would have told me so. I've gotten used to it. You know, the funny thing is, for the longest time on any project we had around here, I've always said, hey, it always is due to change until the last nail or screw. But even that theory's out the window anymore. So I just adapt and overcome, right? That's
so
what.
it's a plan. It's not just a set plan.
Right. Well, yeah, as David tells us, it's a game plan, not a set plan.
There you go. And there's Judy Herman. Welcome in. Oh, let's see. Hey, Barbara. How are you doing?
There's Barbara, and hey, right there is Ray. We got them both in tonight.
Yeah. And there is Brian and Brenda Hope, along with Colin, I hope.
I'm sure he's there.
Yeah. Um, let's see. I think I'm at the bottom. Can you
I just
imagine?
made it to the bottom, even though I'm late. All right, 1 second. I'm totally unsupplied for this.
Oh, okay.
Okay, stocked up, ready to go.
Then some cold snacks.
Oh yeah, I can't believe I was somewhat watching the time earlier, going, okay, we've got a couple hours to get this little project done, and it should take 45 minutes. It's still not done.
Oh yeah. But guys, now I will tell you, I will admit that I wasn't the best private in the entire world. Um, I got caught. I got caught in basic training. We had a weekend pass, and back then, the Army could not leave the base. You had to be in dress greens. All right, you had to be. And a buddy of mine said, "Hey," because he was from Oxford, Alabama. And he says, "Hey, my brother has got tickets to the Kiss concert." And I believe it was the Beth World Tour. And they're going to be in Birmingham, Alabama. He goes, but it's on Saturday. It starts at 6 o'clock. And we had to be back by midnight before it hit Sunday. They wanted us back in there. So we really had the afternoon of Friday and all day Saturday off. And we got back at 2:25 in the morning.
Ooh.
His brother was so plastered, he lost his keys, and we had to wait till they closed the venue down and they were cleaning up and stuff, and somebody found him on the floor because that's where we were. My uniform, my name tag, I had lost my name tag. Back then, you didn't go to basic training and they gave you a ribbon for attending basic training. But I had a name tag and I'd lost my name tag. And I'm like going, are you freaking kidding me? But I knew I had one in my locker. And I was pretty well 3 sheets to the wind, not realizing, hey, I've got a name tag on my shirt underneath my jacket. Right? So we come strolling in like we were infiltrating the enemy base camp, and we were sliding along the walls and trying to get up the stairs, not thinking, hey, they got cameras every freaking where. And we walk into the bay, and right there where fire watch sets was my drill sergeant, just waiting. Just waiting, dude. Got an Article 15 in basic training. It was a company grade Article 15 in basic training. It didn't throw me out or my buddy, um, but we had extra duty. So we had to work as KPs at night, and we were doing some of the nastiest stuff you ever see in the back of a mess hall. So
See,
I did that.
that's probably a good reason they got rid of that a little bit. The Marine Corps never got no kind of leave like that. I don't think not during boot camp. The closest that we ever had was Sundays. You could have, if you chose to go to church service, then you got somewhat of a reprieve from the drill instructors and the work, for a couple hours when you went to church. But that was it. There was no, hey, you get the weekend off, like, and probably because worse things than that would have happened with us.
Yeah. But so yeah, I didn't start off my military career in the best way. Um, but the good thing is I recovered from that. So and that's always a good thing. I wasn't a repeat offender. When we had our next one, I knew I wasn't going to have an off post pass for the next 8 weeks. I knew that. And this was the transition from boot camp into AIT, Advanced Individual Training. So, and it was at Fort McClellan, Alabama. So, yeah, it's easy. You see a lot of people, they get in trouble and they keep getting in trouble. They keep getting in trouble. And sooner or not, they just get sick and tired of you being in trouble and they get rid of you. They chapter you out of the military. But yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. I did put the link up at the top if you want to come up and tell us a rule or a regulation that you encountered that's noteworthy, or you think was probably the dumbest thing you ever heard in the military as far as how you're supposed to conduct yourself. So we invite you to come up. Just make sure we can see you in the green room when you click on the link, and we will bring you up and we will talk about it. So without any further ado, let's get started.
Yeah, number one, right? Trimming the stash. Oh man, this was always a fun one.
Yeah.
A nice looking mustache is something men aspire to, in particular strong handlebars. Had a revival in recent years thanks to the hipster community. But if you're a hipster who wants to join the United States military, you might be disappointed to learn that you have to shave off that beautiful lip covering, or at least make sure it complies with regulation. Overall, the military has some stringent rules on general attire, but in 2022 they relaxed these somewhat. While mustaches are allowed, they have to follow a strict degree of bushiness as laid out in a Department of Defense memorandum. Quote, no portion of the mustache will extend below the lip line of the upper lip. Additionally, mustache will not go beyond a horizontal line extending across the corners of the mouth and no more than a quarter of an inch beyond a vertical line drawn from the corner of the mouth, end quote. That's actually how it's in there, right? You read it. That last one is exactly how it goes. And the super fun part is, by the time most guys get it trimmed down to where they think they're in regulation, it's a Hitler stash.
Yeah. It's like this.
Yeah.
Corners of the mouth up, and that's all you got, and you just got this in the middle. Right? You can't wear the porn stash or curves the mouth, the cowboy stash. You can't wear none of that stuff.
Well, even in with that too, it's talking about the line of your lip. It can't protrude below that at any given point. You know, so you almost have to trim it daily if you want it there. And then I remember when I was in, at least on our side, right? the overall hair length couldn't be more than a half an inch.
Yeah.
And I've actually seen guys get theirs measured, which was insane to me. I'm like, you're really gonna, but some of those guys will get hairs that'll go like straight out. You know, or I don't know if they combed it to make it that way or what, but they would like go straight out, and
Yeah.
they, you know, it's not going down their lip, but
Yeah, drill sergeant pulled out this little flexible plastic ruler out of his pocket, and he would put it on in your lip and measure your hairs. And they told us when we first got in there, when they talked about in the Army, it's called 670-1, which is dress and appearance in a military uniform. It's an AR. They said it would behoove you while you're in basic training not to grow one. It'll make your life a lot better, right? Now, and being in the military for however many years people served in the military, the first thing that they do when they get out is what? They start growing facial hair because they're tired of all the shaving. Now, we had a shaving class. They had to give us a shaving class. And the only razor we could buy was a Bic razor back then, which is probably the worst razor God ever placed on this
shaving
earth.
with a cheese grater.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And
see, we weren't allowed to have them. We might have been able to in MOS school, but you're still so young in the Marine Corps, you don't dare try it there.
yeah,
Definitely wasn't allowed in boot camp. There was no facial hair. You definitely shave it off.
yeah.
So most guys reserved it for getting to the fleet. And now deployments, whole nother story. Everybody grew a mustache for a deployment, but
Yeah. But I'm going to tell you something. And I'm going to tell you something. There's then when you get to permanent party, I mean, guys try to push the envelope. They try to push it, and I guess in the Army, the only time that they really looked closely at something like that was when you had in-ranks formation in your dress uniform and stuff like that. And then they actually, you had to take care of business right there. I did watch a guy in formation because I was an MP, but I was on the DMZ in Korea, and we had this one guy came in. He was a small group leader from Fort McClellan, and he came in and he was an E7, and he carried a Bic razor with him. And if he looked at your thing, he pulled that out in a little flat mirror and he says, dress it up right here, right now. And of course, the old time guys, which were E4s and stuff. Come on, Sarge, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, he didn't do well. He was one of those guys that if we went to combat, somebody might roll a grenade into his tent like they did in Vietnam when they got rid of bad leaders and stuff like that.
right.
Friendly fire, by the way. But yeah. I never had to shave my stash all the time.
Dawn still doesn't shave her stash. I don't even think it's in rags now.
Yeah, I mean, women do grow a little fuzzy thing up there. And
I think the best, and I might have said it on here the one night, was the best story about shaving that I'd ever seen was actually in boot camp. And we had this Asian kid in there. And of course, they don't grow facial hair till they're like 50 or something.
yeah.
So he's in there. Well, he never shaved ever. He's like, I don't need to. He had just that little bitty peach fuzz. And we did a hygiene inspection or something. And all of a sudden, the drill instructors told him, hey, you need to go in and shave. And I happen to pull up to the sink next to him as I'm shaving that morning, and I'm looking at him and I'm like, what is he doing? Like, he had the razor head on backwards, was going back, like he was doing nothing with it but taking the shaving cream off. And I looked at him and I'm like, you know, whatever his name was, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, they told me I had to shave. I've never had to shave before. I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like, give me that thing. Like, look, dude, pull, go against. And yeah, it was entertaining at its finest.
We had to shave in boot camp. We had to shave it was mandatory. You will shave every morning.
Yeah.
I didn't have nothing on my face but peach fuzz.
Oh,
right. Nothing. I had nothing. And I'm going to tell you, so I was 18 years old. I had nothing but peach fuzz, and I had to shave it off. Well, you know, after 16 weeks, I started growing whiskers. Then I had to shave every freaking day, you know.
see,
And
I had a
one
hot
day
section goatee all through high school. So like I shaved mine like the night before I went to boot camp, but I'd already been having to shave for quite a while. So
yeah, I wasn't as manly as you in high school.
they
I could have put cream on there and a cat could lick off what I had. You know what I mean?
oh gosh, no. Jay's talking about to put the razors in the whiskey lockers because kids would drink cologne, whisk, and aftershave in the early 90s and 80s to try to hurt themselves. See, we weren't allowed. So every time we went to go, you'd go buy your hygiene supplies like once a week or whatever it was, right? And the drill instructors gave you a list. Hey, you're going to buy X amount of razors and shaving cream. Well, your razors stayed with you, but and the shaving cream, but they made you buy aftershave and mouthwash. You never had either one of those in your personal possession. They all went into the whiskey locker for the drill instructors, and then they put them in the big spray bottles.
Yeah.
And so every time when you went to shower and you did hygiene, you came out and they would be standing there with one with aftershave and one with mouthwash. And as you're coming out, they're like, close your eyes, open your mouth. And 9 times out of 10, you got the aftershave in your mouth and the mouthwash on the rest of your face. Like they would mix them up on purpose just to send you through. Yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't have either one of those. We could not buy aftershave or mouthwash. They wouldn't allow us to buy that.
We couldn't keep it on like it couldn't be in our whiskey locker. It wasn't in our hygiene bag. It went into the drill instructors kept it.
Yeah.
And then they literally stood out, because you have the big group showers in the barracks. And I honestly don't know. There's probably less than a handful of times that you actually got to stand under an individual shower head. Normally it was they lined the shower heads up one side with hot, the other side with cold, and you just moved along as you went. Like,
yeah,
try to get soap where you could, but
yeah, we couldn't buy that stuff. We could buy an aftershave cream. It's just basically a lotion, and I think Old Spice made it, and they kept a lot of that out because everybody bought that, and it's just lotion. Maybe they didn't want us to drink the alcohol infused mouthwash or cologne or whatever,
yeah,
or aftershave or whatever. I don't know. That might have been it. But when I was a drill sergeant, they were allowed to buy mouthwash and aftershave, no cologne, but aftershave. And then I think the black soldiers, because they were prevalent to bumps, they could buy this stuff called Afro Shave, and it was a paste that they did, and they put it, and then they took it off with a flat, like a butter knife or something like that. It's almost like Nair, and they could take it off, which supposedly didn't cause bumps and stuff like that. So I remember that. So, all right. So moving on, number 2, is adultery. Now, adultery is not a crime outside the military. All right. The law basically says it's not against the law to fall out of love and, you know, hook up with somebody else. So there's no real crime. I mean, years and years ago, if they caught you cheating, that was a grounds for judge making decisions and stuff like that. But most states are it's a no fault state. So if you're cheating on your spouse, it's a no fault state, and you just get divorced, whatever. But in the military, if you're thinking of military life as an excuse for being a Casanova of the world, you have and have a fling after fling in every port, uh, and sit home heavy, and your spouse is sitting home oblivious to everything, you might be in for a shock. Sometimes the phrase getting caught with your pants down can be very literal. Obviously, adultery isn't a great look anywhere or at any time, but if you're in the military and you could lose a whole lot more than just your marriage. If your affair, or as it's known in the military, extramarital sexual conduct is exposed and reflects poorly on the military as a whole, you could face serious charges depending on how bad you made the military look. You could receive a reduction in rank, disciplinary action, partial or full loss of pay, or even confinement or a dishonorable discharge for cheating on your spouse. Now, I will tell you that the marital affairs of a drill sergeant, the high percentage of drill sergeants who have affairs with their recruits are married drill sergeants. Okay. And if you've ever lived on a military base where they do basic training, I know when I was one at Fort McClellan, they used to post in the Post Gazette or whatever it was called, the drill sergeants who were relieved of duty and who were charged and stuff like that, and all UCMJ actions were posted in that paper, so everybody knew. Okay, everybody knew. And the same thing is, besides adultery, they would get charged with fraternization. Okay, conduct unbecoming a non-commissioned officer in a position of authority. Same thing goes with officers. I will tell you that we had the sergeant major of the Army, McKinney. He got caught when he became sergeant major of the Army. He brought his driver from his command in Germany to Washington, D.C. to be his driver or be on his detail when he became sergeant major of the Army. Come to find out, not only was he having an affair with this young lady, and his wife apparently didn't know, he also fathered a child with this driver.
Oh, wow.
And he was released from the military. I don't know the details behind it, but I mean, it was in the Stars and Stripes. It was everywhere what he had done. And there's generals that's been busted. There's been colonels been busted. There have been all kinds of people busted in authority that committed fraternization and adultery at the same time. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it always seems when it's happening with those higher ranking, especially the higher ranking officers, right? I mean, as you get promoted, no matter what, I mean, just joining, you're supposed to carry yourself at a higher standard.
Right.
But then if you get promoted up through the ranks, your standards end up getting raised and raised and raised. So yeah, when they see somebody that gets it, I think the most I seen was guys that went on recruiting duty. Recruiters were the biggest ones that I seen. Um, at least I witnessed, like, within the people that I knew or associated with, because they would leave, and normally it's a 3-year billet, and they would come back before the 3 years was up, and then
Right.
sometimes they came back with less rank than they left, and I'm like, how'd you get demoted? And you find out that, yeah, it was them while on recruiting duty, having relationships with recruits, not even or poolies. They weren't even recruits yet. They weren't at boot camp. Like, it was um ones that were getting ready to enlist. So it was, I don't
Yeah.
know. That one, I got personal things with that one right there, and it drives me nuts because it seems like that was a regulation that was only upheld when certain people wanted it upheld, but it wasn't upheld for everybody.
Now, it usually got upheld when because we had this when we were deployed to Bosnia, we had a rear detachment staff sergeant. He was one of the rear detachment NCOs. Um, was dating the gal that was the bartender at the club, but her husband was a sergeant in Charlie Company, and he was in headquarters company, right? And they couldn't ignore that because that sergeant wanted to commit the well, let's just say he wanted his ass. But I mean, some people said, "But dude, why are you getting so upset? She knew she was married. Why are you so mad at him?" But they knew each other too. And
Yeah.
that's the sad part is, you always hear these stories of couples getting together and they play cards and stuff, and the two of the people in the relationships have no clue that the other two are sleeping with each other, you know, until then they find out. Then all hell breaks loose.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Summing it up really easy, that exact story happened, and that's why I got my first divorce.
there you
But I couldn't, and that's, I guess, why that one right there irks me. Is I went to my command about it, because I'm like, I want him charged. Like, I understand what's going on. I can't do anything with her, but you know, proceed with this divorce. But for him, we were peers, we were coworkers.
go. Yeah,
And I just happened to deploy and he didn't. And
yeah,
when I came back, and they're like, well, do you have photos? Do you have video? And I'm like, no. But I've known guys that got busted for less accusation. Like, I
yeah,
have statements and could show phone records. I had all this stuff. Command wouldn't even touch it.
yeah.
So I luckily got
Now,
orders out, because I said, if you don't have orders ready for me when I come back to this unit, because I was deployed when this all happened, with a different unit, I said, when I come back and detach from them, if you don't have orders for me, we're going to have problems. I said, I will not walk into the same building as him.
yeah,
And they did. They
now,
they actually gave us both orders. They sent him way to one end of the base, and I went to the other.
that's crazy. Now, I will tell you that I was in a unit in Germany, the 4th 11 ACR. Uh, it was a combat attack helicopter squadron. And I was working at the air assault school. I was a black hat at the air assault school there in Fulda, Germany. And we picked up a class and everything. And one of the people that was in my troop, because in the cavalry they call them troops instead of companies.
Mm-hmm.
His wife was having a baby, and this was all over the papers. I mean, it's crazy. And the guy went to the hospital, which was the Catholic hospital. It's where my son was born also. And he was Caucasian. Um, the and he was a redhead and she was a blonde, and a little tan baby came out with black hair. And he was going, what the heck? And he was in the hospital. They had to call the police to remove him from the hospital. And when the girl, because he was in the delivery room, and come to find out that his friend that lived on base, because they lived off base in family housing, she admitted that she had an affair with his buddy that lived in the barracks, right? And if we had late nights, he would sleep up in that guy's room, and because couldn't go home because he had to usually take a taxi or whatever. He didn't have a car. And so we bring in the soldiers from the air assault school, and it's around 8 o'clock at night, so they could eat in the mess hall. Well, outside there is a phone booth, a German phone booth outside the mess hall. So this guy calls, and whoever's going by, they always answer it, and they run up there and get whoever, and they come down, and he said, hey, this is emergency. I need to talk to this guy. So the guy comes down. Well, this guy was actually calling from his office in the supply room downstairs. And the guy came out to the phone, and apparently the guy was laying in wait for him. And he went and answered the phone, and all of a sudden he walks out, and this guy attacks him with a machete-looking type of knife. And the guy started hacking on this dude. The people that were sitting on the window, dude, they're going, holy crap. They started getting up, and everybody was on the window, and I went over there, and I'm going, holy. And people started running out, and he just dropped it. And he actually hacked him so much, he actually severed his head and killed this dude. Wow. And he's sitting in Leavenworth for the rest of his life, because at the time they hadn't dropped the death penalty, the actual act of the death penalty. You can be given the death penalty in the military, but they hadn't killed anybody since Vietnam or whatever. And I think Trump just lifted it, not to so they can clear the books at Leavenworth and stuff like that. And that's what adultery will get you if the other one's pissed off enough. And why would you want to sleep with somebody whose husband or wife has access to a gun?
Yeah, I don't. And it's crazy that it happens. It it's never a good thing. That
actually happened. It is on the military law books.
Yeah.
That case is.
Mm.
Yeah. It was kind of gross.
Yeah. Oh. Talk about guys not even needing to go to combat to have PTSD to see some dude getting whacked in a phone booth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I did see, because I know that I don't know how long they'll have signal, but Tony and Angie made it in from their cruise all the way in Alaska.
Oh, they have the internet package.
Evidently.
All right. Angie.
And
Tony.
So yeah, number 3, get off the grass. If you know, you know. I still struggle with walking on grass. Like if there's a sidewalk, it's like I'm gonna take the long way, and they're like, go through it. Nope, can't do it. This unofficial rule is less about discipline and more about aesthetics. If hundreds of troops are wandering back and forth over the same portions of grass over and over again, naturally the state of it quickly goes from a beautiful green to a muddy brown. The other side of this strange rule is that the grass is seen as a metaphor. Taking a quick shortcut across the grass instead of following the path or the sidewalk symbolically tells your senior officials that you're willing to take shortcuts in other aspects of your life, not something a sergeant with strict routines and regulations wants to hear. Uh, yeah, uh, that was always a great one, and I love seeing like in today's today's world of social media, the amount of memes that are out there about staying off of the grass. But that for a lot of guys, I mean, it's like kind of traumatizing. Uh, yeah, what makes the grass grow? Blood makes the grass grow.
That's right. But sergeant majors have a real issue on post beautification of their areas. Okay. First sergeants have, because the sergeant major will come down and get in their ass, post beautification of their areas and stuff like that. It is all about discipline. It is all about, that's why God created sidewalks. Okay. As I was told one time. And it is a way for the sergeant major and first sergeants to get volunteers for lawn maintenance.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Because in the military, if you've ever been on a military base, nowadays they contract all the mowing, or the DPW, Department of Public Works, does all the mowing. They take pride in the way that things look, because if you take care of what you have, you'll take pride in yourself. And that's one of the classes in the First Sergeant's Academy and the Sergeant Major's Academy. Okay. And so if, let's say, the division sergeant major came down and your area looked like poo-poo, okay, it's a military term, guys. If your area looked like poo-poo or doo-doo, and your sergeant major is embarrassed in front of everybody by the division sergeant major or the division commander or the brigade commander, whatever, everybody has a food chain. You can pretty much expect the sergeant major to be deep inside your 6 o'clock once the other people leave. Okay. And you don't want that. So this thing, that's get off the grass part, guys, they don't just mean it, they live by it.
Oh yeah.
Right? And if you get caught again, failure to follow an order can get you in trouble. That comes along with staying off the damn grass. You see what I'm saying? So usually it's repeat offenders. It ain't the first time you step on the grass or anything like that. But then you go out the next morning and you do PT on the same damn grass.
Yeah, and I mean there was times like that. You weren't allowed to walk on it, but yeah, we could stand out there. We would do parades on it. We would do formations on it. We did everything else on it. PT, right? But you couldn't walk on it.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is one of those, like for me, I kind of got it early on. I mean, they come up with some of these silly, you might even call them dumb rules. Like, why is this a regulation? Why is this a rule? But it's all about that uniform discipline. And being able to check, like you watch those guys. And I mean, I remember, I wasn't even at a sergeant major level, but, we would watch and yeah, those young Marines that would walk across the quad without taking all the sidewalks, they would just jet right across. Well, we knew who they were on the next working party. They're the ones like, and it made your choice because you're like, oh man, who do I send on the working party this week? And then you go sit in a spot and you're like, oh, well, hey, I just got my voluntold right there. So
that's right. That's absolutely correct. All right. So getting inked. You look at the military and you go, wow, Everybody has tattoos. I'm pretty sure the Navy, they go around the world and instead of picking up stuff, they just get a tattoo from that place. A
Right.
guy told me one time, he goes, I've got a tattoo from every port of call that I've ever been in. And I said, how long are you in? He goes, 27 years. I go, holy crap. And he was tattooed up. But getting inked, although getting tattoos isn't outright banned, many veterans have tattoos that symbolize their service, and they are often pictures of young men and young women with visible tattoos. With their rise in popularity, so many young people now have tattoos that were starting to affect the military recruitment. So they relaxed the rules. But the placement of your ink still matters. And there is still absolutely no allowance for that or a discriminatory, like display of racism, sexism, uh, extremism, or anything obscene, which sounds like sounded to me, it sounds like a good rule, and to many other people, it does also. Generally, the new policy states tattoos can be on the arms, legs, torso, but shouldn't be visible on the hands, wrist, head, face, lips, good Lord, or neck. The strictness of this can vary by military branch. However, nowadays, members of the Navy are permitted a single 1 inch or less neck tattoo. In the Army, Navy, Coast Guard, Marine Corps, a solitary finger ring tattoo is permitted on the hand. A lot of people get that. Instead of wearing a wedding ring, they get it tattoo. Hand is permitted. In the Air Force, that is restricted to one hand only. So if you're considering joining the military, you might want to think before you ink. Okay, so if you go out there and let's say you're a reformed MS-13 gang member, you got to get rid of it.
Yeah.
You got to get rid of that skull that's tattooed on your face and stuff like that. You can't have things like whatever people put on their knuckles and hate words and stuff like that. You can't do that. You can't discriminate against somebody. So you can't go in and when you go to MEPS, dude, you're standing there and they're recording every tattoo on your body. And as soon as they get to something in question, they circle it. Okay, and it goes in front of a review board, and they will take pictures of it. Okay, mine still has my tattoos on my my last paperwork because I got a copy of my 201 file. But you just can't do it. You can't have anything that incites hatred, sexism, and stuff like this. I know the Navy guys get, like the naked hula girl, and they do certain things and they make things happen with their muscles and stuff like that. I seen that in movies and stuff, and I'm pretty sure it happened. But the one thing that they will not tolerate is the whole racism, any kind of tattoo that is from some extremist group. I mean, you can't have triple K tattooed, on your forearm and stuff like that. Now they do say you can have them to your wrist because everybody is issued long sleeve shirts when you're in dress uniform or whatever and stuff like that. But if you're in khakis in the Marine Corps, do they make long sleeve khaki shirts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
They
we
did
got the long sleeve.
when I first came in. Those are our khakis. Were our dress B's. Our class A's were the suit, tie, and all that stuff, and then khakis were class B uniform that we had. And I
Yeah,
miss them because I like wearing those.
ours are we would have the green trousers with a short sleeve khaki shirt, and that was our Charlie's.
Yeah.
But they had a version where you wore the dress blue trousers with the same khaki shirt, and then that was like your Deltas. So there was multiple versions, and it was a summer versus winter uniform.
Yeah.
Now your dress blues was the same uniform year round, and then your alphas, your service alphas, the green pickle suit. That's the same year round, doesn't matter. But the others like your Charlies, because you could do, and you see it a lot. I don't know. I've seen it mainly with recruiters because being in a tank community, we didn't wear our service uniforms very often. They did have where you wore the green trousers and then you had the long sleeve khaki shirt in the winter months, to be your modified like deltas and stuff like that. So, can we go back to me wearing shorts? Hey, it's been hot. Even though we're on a cool streak, I'm still busting out shorts. It ain't quite cool enough to be busting out some overalls yet.
2 military branches, no ink. What branches are those?
Jay was what, Marine, and then, or was he National Guard and then went Marine, or Marine and went
He was in 2 different branches, and
yeah. He served in 2 different branches, and then but he has no ink, which
I thought it was the Marine Corps and the Air Force.
I know Marine Corps was one of them, but I thought it was maybe Army after. Maybe not.
Okay.
I don't. But yeah, I didn't have any tattoos going into boot camp, so like when I did MEPS and all that stuff, there was no photos. And I was quite a bit into my Marine Corps career before they ever took photos of any of my tattoos.
Really?
Because like at the standard when I came in was like, if you had them when you came in, like at reception, they're going to take photos. It's going to be in your medical record. It's going to be all that. But then as you got them throughout your Marine Corps career, there was, for us, right, it's kind of like the Navy, where the Marine Corps being there hand in hand it's almost mandatory to get them. Now, there's a lot of guys that serve that didn't, but it's that kind of rite of passage of, hey, you're really not in. And Marines and the Navy and the Marine Corps are very well known for having full sleeves.
Yeah.
And we actually, the first time that I had to have photos taken of any of my tattoos, and most people didn't even know I had tattoos. Some of my closest friends that maybe we went to the beach and I'd take my shirt off or something. But in all of our uniforms, you never really seen them. And I kind of kept it that way on purpose, just because I was like, hey, I don't want to cause myself issues. Jay was Marine Reserve and then Air Force. Okay, you were right. All right. Yeah. Hey, I'm just here for the crayons and cold snacks. But then we got a commandant that came in, and all of a sudden he became super strict on tattoos. Yeah. To where you were all but banned of getting tattoos in the Marine Corps for that stretch while he was commandant. It could only be something like in one section of, say, your whole forearm right here. You had to be able to cover the entire tattoo with your palm. And you could only have one in this whole, like from your elbow to your wrist. It couldn't wrap around. It couldn't. It was pretty controversial within the Marine Corps when that happened, because that was a big thing. Like for guys that could afford it to go get it, we would go get tattoos and stuff. Yeah. And now you weren't allowed, and then everybody got documented on it. Now, since they've lifted that ban, that is no longer a policy, but it still is very much no hands, no neck, no face. Other than like what we stated in here, you could have a ring. I actually hadn't heard that one before about the one on your neck, you said?
Yeah. Now, I did see a lot of Marines. I met quite a few Marines at Leonard Wood because they'd come through the Chemical Defense Training Facility. the guys going through chemical school and stuff like that, and they would have a barcode on the base of their neck. And I'm going, what the heck is that? He goes, oh, I got that in, uh, Paris Putin Point or whatever the hell that place is called. Um, he goes, yeah, they got a tattooist there that you can give him your information and he'll make a barcode for you. And he goes, a bunch of us got barcodes. Paris Island, Paris Point, whatever.
Oh, at Paris Island.
Yeah. And he goes, and he'd take your information, he'd create a barcode. And if you actually scan it, whatever. I said, who the hell has the scanner for it? Because you have to upload information so it can read a barcode and stuff like that. So
right.
Maybe
nowadays any smartphone can do it, but back then you had to have like an app to do it. That was a big trend for a while. I actually remember some guys that went and got it, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I could understand maybe the dog tags, because that was actually a regulation within it for tattoos, was to you could get away with not actually wearing your physical dog tags if you had them tattooed on your rib cage.
Oh, really?
With all your information. But like, I don't. I wore mine for a little while, but being in a mechanic MLS, we weren't allowed to wear jewelry at work. So, I mean, the only time that you've seen pretty much any of our guys wearing dog tags or any kind of jewelry was either if they worked in the office or mainly during inspections. They'll check you for your dog tags on inspections, but it was like, yeah, you don't wear them. But yeah, the inked thing, that was, I was actually kind of upset because I was getting divorced, so I finally had money again, and I'm like, sweet, I'm going to start working on my sleeves. And then that commandant came in and went, great, I can't get sleeves. And so, okay, let's see. Number 5, jumping into water.
Jumping into water?
It's what it says. These are bizarre military regulations, guys. So let's go with this. All right. Jumping into water to cool off sounds like a wonderful idea. However, it's not an advisable one if you're aboard a military vessel. Mainly because some of them are pretty freaking big and would take a while to climb back up. I think some of these you write just to see if I'll actually read them. There are good reasons this is a crazy move. Most prominently, it can be a fairly dangerous trick to attempt, but also because it's in direct violation of military law as covered under Article 87 of the UCMJ. If a member of the military were to jump from any vessel operated or controlled by the armed forces, whether at port, anchor, or sea, they can receive dishonorable discharge, forfeit all pay and allowances, or get up to 2 years of confinement. So a lot of that looks like it's mainly covering not jumping off the ship, guys.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, if you find a mud puddle and there's a Marine around it, one of them's going in it.
Yeah.
They don't care. But I think there's another part to that, is as silly as some of that is.
Well, you have to be, if you're on an aircraft carrier, you get to be some kind of stupid, because that's a long freaking ways down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a long ways down. If you've ever stood next to an aircraft carrier at port, and you have to look straight up, those are pretty tall. What are they, like 10, 20-story buildings or whatever the hell they are? There's some big ships.
Yeah, I know. I think the one that I went on that's down in Corpus, I think that was when you went on the front, they actually had a spot you could walk out and look down, and you were 10 stories up.
Oh, wow.
And it was just, oh yeah, I couldn't imagine.
Now, if you're a recruit and you grew up in, let's say, Acapulco, Mexico, right? And you were a cliff diver, it might seem a little inviting. Okay. Now, if you're a sailor and you said, man, life is over and I'm going to jump off this ship while we're underway, and you live, hey, now they got a reason to court martial your ass, you know? So, yeah, I kind of, it sounds kind of weird that they have to put that in the UCMJ, okay? Kind of like that's why they have to put contents may be hot in a cup of McDonald's coffee, because
Right.
you're not smart enough to know the shit inside is hot, because there are dumb people out there. So I'm guessing they got to do it. I don't know, because the Army has ships like bridge companies, float bridge companies, and stuff like that. So I don't know if that, because those are just like boats that move bridge parts around on a river and stuff like that. So I
Right.
don't know if a commander had to do that because they were hot and they jumped off their boat. But I don't think it didn't say in there whether if you're in the Navy or if it's any branch of the military. So who knows? But it was kind of weird that they had that in there. So who knows?
Always that good stuff to throw in, right? I mean,
Yeah.
gotta have some bizarre.
I mean, like Article 134, being stupid in a no stupid zone is actually in there, but in a different way they write it,
Right.
or being stupid without a license. There are a lot of dumb guys in the military. Trust me, I've seen a lot of them. Hey, no criticizing the government. Did you know that's a crime punishable under the Uniform Code of Military Justice while you're serving? There is an old saying in the military, you serve to preserve the democracy, you're not in one. And that is a true statement.
Very true.
So you cannot criticize the government no matter where you are in the world. It's generally frowned upon to speak out against the government as a military member of the armed forces, as the final line of defense. A military member has to be seen as a political neutral and cannot join trade unions or speak out against any issue they may have with the existing government or its policies. For example, the government lays out the restriction that no military member may display any political signs or attend political rallies or demonstrations while in uniform. In every election season, you go through those classes, and they tell you you cannot show up in a military uniform and say, hold your little sign up and who you're voting for and stuff like that. It does not say in there that you can't attend them. They would prefer you not to go to them. But if you have to go into there, you have to make sure, you're not wearing the U.S., Abraham Lincoln hat, or you're in uniform of any type, A, B, C, D, whatever. You just can't do it. So, yeah. And then you'll also see, after people get out of the military, have some strong opinions. Okay? We're very opinionated people. Okay? And you'll see generals, let's say, that served under a Democrat president while they were in and stuff like that. Then after they get out, you don't hear nothing from them. And then when they get out, they're on some news agency, either conservative or liberal, just bad mouthing the crap out of the military and their policies and stuff like that, because they're not breaking the law then, even if they're receiving retirement pay. Now, if you commit a felony, okay, and you get sent to prison, then yeah, all pay, benefits, retirement stuff stops. and you're out of a good paying retirement plan. So, and one of the things is in a lot of ways, they've passed a lot of laws. For example, when I got out and they said, hey, you're 60% disabled. So they took my military pay and they removed 60% of that and moved it over to the VA. So I got that tax free over here. And then what was ever left, I paid taxes on it as my Army retirement pay. So then, way back when, somebody very smart, I can't remember his name, came up with a bill that said military service members are government employees. And since the GS, the government service, civilians, they would get their retirement pay and they would get a full disability pay. Okay. Why isn't the military getting that? Why are we splitting it out? And then they did change that where whatever you get for retirement, you get it. They say you're 60% over here, you get all that too. Okay. So they're not splitting it up, which I thought was one of the most beneficial thing to retired people that they've ever came up with. So.
Yeah, and it had already changed by the time I retired, but I remember reading through the policy and getting the briefs that they were telling us about the old way. But then nobody corrected it and said, hey, it's not that way anymore. So like when I retired, I went the first couple years and I was talking to other guys that either retired before me or after me. And I'm like, hey, what did you get on a VA rating? Are they affecting your pay? Because I didn't see any change. I'm like, hey, I'm getting my full pension of what they said I was going to get. And I'm getting, what I'm supposed to be paid on my rating. What's the difference? And then I went to a couple like veteran seminar things in my hometown, and they talked to them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, this was like this is for kind of the older veterans that retired, well before you did." That they had changed that where they didn't pull, like you said, they were making it two separate. But yeah, you talk about the no criticizing the government. That and that for me, I found has been. I never followed politics even when I was in, and I don't necessarily follow it now.
Right.
I don't watch the news. They told us all the time when I was in that you need to watch the news. You need to watch the world news, know what's going on everywhere, do all this. And I'm like, I'm not going to watch it. One, they all lie. So why do I want to, like, I would go to law school if I wanted to be surrounded by a bunch of liars. Like, I don't have any time for that.
Right.
And being active duty, it was one of those, they're going to tell me where I'm going to go when they want me to go there. And they're going to give me the information that I need to go to know to go there. And there was never an instance when they sent me somewhere that they didn't give me all the information I need to know about that area. So to worry about and put that, what the world's problems are, I never put that, in my brain. So, and one, like you said, every election we had to sit in classes and be told how we're not allowed to express our we can go vote and we can vote however we want. And, we actually got told we weren't even allowed to go to rallies. They didn't want you in any way, shape, or form, because if something happened and say you got arrested or whatever, they're going to check your IDs. They're going to realize you're, military. And then the news is going to take that and automatically go and be like, well, the Marine Corps, because, Staff Sergeant White got arrested. This is their, and it's a bad reflection on the entire military by doing that. And it's taken me a while. And it's crazy, but your brain gets so ingrained in not, hey, you don't talk about these things. You don't not in public, not in anything. So to even share like a Facebook meme about, a political one, it's almost like, man, what am I doing? Like, it's weird. It's like walking on the grass, knowing that, hey, I can walk on it now. But my brain is telling me every step I'm doing, this is so wrong. Why am I doing this?
Well, I mean, I do that too but I think of it as am I going to hurt my channel? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But then I
Well,
said, well, you know, to hell with it. I'll do morning talks with Mike, and I'll tell everybody what the hell I think. So, and Terry kind of cringes sometimes. But
and
hey,
there's an element to that. I mean, we've seen it in the comments. You know, if somebody says something, or you know, we're very reserved at what our political affiliation and where we
right,
are on the main channel.
right,
For that reason, like, it's not that we're afraid. It's just like, hey, you know what? It's easier if you don't talk about it, right?
yeah,
Um, so, politics, religion, two of the biggest things that are, typically not public conversations.
sure,
And because it does cause a lot of controversy. Now they could be fun, right? You could have a lot of really good conversation, and I've had some great conversation. Um, you know, as long as you're doing it with educated, like, responsible people. I've
sure.
had those conversations with people that only think one way, and it's atrocious. They're a train wreck. It's amazing how people won't educate themselves before they open their mouth
Yeah.
about any of that type of stuff. So Terry cringes when I come on Big Mike. Well, that's only because we're not sure if you're really wearing anything, Paul. We're like, is it a
Well,
beanie?
I make him show me before we get started now.
So he does the little shaky dance for you in the green room. He's up there shaking it. Okay, we see how it
Yeah,
works.
yeah.
Got
He's invested in sleeper pants and jogging pants, so we're
nice.
good.
All right, so moving on, we're going to go to the stragglers. If you have a bit of a habit of not paying attention and wandering away, then the military isn't for you. Stragglers, aka those who get separated from their unit, but better have a good reason for being left behind, or else you could face the full force of military might. That's because straggling is incredibly dangerous. It can cause disruption and break down military structure and planning, leaving your comrades open and vulnerable to attack in an active war zone. It could also have catastrophic consequences. And no, I wasn't just admiring the scenery that won't cut it. Definitely not a good enough excuse.
Yeah.
If accused of straggling, you could get a conviction that remains on your permanent record forever, tanking your ability to get bonuses or promotions. Your pay could be reduced or could even be locked up in confinement for 30 days.
So
Um,
they'll know where you're at.
I never actually heard of this, and I'm glad I'm out now because I definitely could have got charged on the straggling one time.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
but
I think what they're really talking about is wandering off from an engagement, um, missing movement, where everybody's loaded up and all of a sudden you show up later on, even though you were there before. But a lot of it is straggling within a combat zone. Yeah, that right there
yeah.
is, I mean, it borders on desertion while you're in a combat deployment area. So,
Well, like in my case, like I said, I mean, I guess if they really wanted to, if they would have, um, I mean, I was a staff sergeant at the time, but we'd went up to where was it, Fort Pickett in Virginia, and was doing some training up there, and um, being maintenance and being rear support, you're just kind of hanging out. Um, and just so happens one of the intel guys come over and he had a drone and he's flying it around. Well, all of a sudden the drone like lost battery, did something, it went haywire and crashed. Now I knew all of our areas of, hey, this is where they're doing live fire ranges, this is where they're doing this. The last location of this was still in a clear, it was in a zone that we weren't even training in. And so I told the couple guys that I was around, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna grab this guy, we're going over. Well, then somebody come over looking for me within the command, and they're like, wow, he went off that way, we don't know where he went. And I was like, are you kidding me? So of course I came back, got my ass chewed, because now, like, they were about to call a ceasefire on the entire training exercise because they didn't know where me and this intel lance corporal had went. um, And yeah, in the end, it was just, hey, it was an ass chewing. I took it. But I'm like, hey, I also just got your freaking drone back that your intel guy couldn't find. So you're welcome. Just, save the government thousands and if not millions of dollars by getting this drone back. Um, and and I showed him exactly where we went, what we did. I said, I knew. I have the maps. I've been in all the briefings. I know. Well, you didn't tell any of us. And I'm like, well, I told these 5 a-holes, and they evidently were like, oh, Lance Corporal don't know. And, caused a major miscommunication. But in that situation, and like you said, in combat zones, if you go wandering off, like, hey, I'm going to go over here to, like, no, hey, I get, you got to go number 2. You're doing it where we can see you, because you wander a little extra into the tree line. We have no idea where you're at.
Yep. So careful where you put your hands. Okay. Although the United States Navy relaxed this rule in 2024, putting your hands in your pockets was seen as a cardinal offense punishable by death. You would think, right? Well, not really, but it perceives a lazy, inappropriate, and not keeping with the demeanor and appearance of the military service member. So while the sailors nowadays can stand around lollygagging with their hands in their pockets, the rest of the military have to still stand on guard for that sergeant who will rip them a new one for having their hands in their pockets. I remember in basic training, drill sergeant, all of a sudden he came through the group of people, got in my face, screamed and yelled, and made it known that it was physically impossible to understand a military order when my hands are in my pockets. I said, I go, drill sergeant? And they would come unglued because you're right off the street and your hands just gravitate, into your pockets and stuff like that. And back then we were in the pickle uniform. They called it the pickle suit. It was the green fatigues, all green fatigues that you seen soldiers wear in Vietnam. That's what we were wearing. We didn't have camouflage then and stuff that came later on down the road. But that's one thing I know in the Army. Do not be standing around with your hands in your pockets. That's the pockets is to store things in and to retrieve things from and stuff like that. And I was really happy when they came out with the cargo pocket on the side leg. Okay. Instead of having to carry like your handbook and things like that around, now you got these big old pockets on the side and stuff like that. But yeah, if you're in the military, you remember that. Do not
our
put
pockets.
your
Our pockets were decorations. If you managed to put something, I think the only time that I seen that it was acceptable to put anything in any pocket, like even your cargo pockets, was possibly in the field, and you could normally get away with a few regular, like people slip it up, and you could get away with it like on a deployment because it's like, hey, you're limited gear, you got to be able to. But if we were in garrison in the rear, just doing the everyday. Maybe your ID card, right? It can go in your breast pocket. Something that's flat. They have no idea it's there. But yeah, of course, when I first came in, we still starched all of our camis.
Yeah.
And so it was like, hey, you got to be crisp. Like, why would you bust that line, right? Like military appearance is a thing. So we had all these pockets, pockets on your blouse, pockets on your trousers, everywhere. Like, you weren't allowed to put anything in them. They were decorations. I know guys that actually went through when they were ironing, they glued them. They took Elmer's glue and would just glue all their pockets shut.
Yeah.
It was insane. And we're like, why give us all these pockets then? If we can't use them, why, but it fell into that whole don't walk on the grass. It was just Be
Denise was
disciplined.
saying, she was at Fort Bliss. Fort Bliss is the home of the Sergeant Major's Academy. There are more Sergeant Majors on that base at any one time than anywhere else in the military. Okay. And yeah, she got caught. Yeah. All right. Moving on.
All
Number 9.
right. So number 9, malingering. Have you ever called into sick to get out of work? Well, that's basically malingering. Malingering is, but in the military, the consequences of it are worse than a simple slap on the wrist. For one, you need to cause self-inflicted harm to yourself simply by lying in bed and claiming a headache doesn't usually cut it. And those accused of malingering have gone to lengths like faking a disability to avoid work. Whether you simply call in sick or physically cause self-inflicted harm, your punishment will be more severe than those who just had a fake tummy ache. And you could get a year's confinement, loss of pay, a dishonorable discharge, all of which sounds pretty bad. But if you cause yourself physical harm, then you risk up to 5 years confinement or even 10 if done in a combat zone.
Yeah.
And I seen, even while I was in, there was a huge crackdown on malingering.
Yeah.
And that's why they stepped up the medical. And this is why, like, we talk to a lot of guys now, right? Our big focus on here is getting everybody into the VA. And the hard part that veterans are having is getting it service connected. Why? Because if we went to medical all the time, then, hey, well, now we're malingering, or, we're becoming light duty or limited duty, and then you're getting processed out on a medical or just processed out. But if they find that you're doing it intentionally, for sure. Now, the real fun part is in this whole conversation, or this whole statement, right, was calling in sick to work.
Yeah.
That's not a thing in the military.
No.
Yeah, I maybe this regulation was wrote by an Air Force guy and they could call in. It sure wasn't happening in the Marine Corps. Like, if you were sick, you still had to drive, and if you couldn't drive, you better have your spouse or somebody else drive you in. You're going to go to medical, or just show up at your office, and they're going to tell you to go to medical. Yeah. And you'll go to medical, and then medical's like, you get bed rest, go home. Yeah. And then you have to drive back home, and you're like, couldn't I just, and no, you had to go to medical. So it was like, great. Now I've come here. I've contaminated everybody that's around because you made me go see 12 different people when I could have just stayed home. But you have the guys that do fall in the malingering category that say, hey, they'll do that whole, oh, sorry, I can't come into work. My arm's in a cast. And then they're out fishing, right?
Yeah.
Like, not
I watched a thing on YouTube. They were talking about the Russian army. The Ukrainians are picking up a lot of wounded Russian soldiers. They'd come into an area and all these people are wounded, and they would pick them up and they render them aid. They ship them back to the rear with the gear. To camps and all kinds of stuff, and they come to find out that these soldiers were inflicting wounds on each other to avoid fighting anymore, and the Ukrainians were picking them up and interviewing them and stuff, and they said no, the gunshot wound, or they would like shoot off toes and shoot through the hand, something that wouldn't kill them, but they couldn't fight no more, and they would pick them up and stuff like that. They say it's a huge problem in the Russian army right now. But
really,
yeah. Hey, so the last one is dueling. Now, I don't know, and I've never heard of two people dueling, meaning dueling with guns like in the olden days. But it's still on the books, okay? Just in case somebody gets a wild hair and they want to go dueling with somebody they have a disagreement with, and we're not talking about a fist fight or anything like that, but in the UCMJ, dueling is with pistols, and that's the way it is. I mean, you could, have a knife fight, I guess, if that's dueling, part of combatives and stuff like that. But yeah, for dueling, you can get up to 14 years in confinement for that. And even though President Andrew Jackson was a famous example of it, Alexander Hamilton and President Abraham Lincoln, if caught dueling nowadays, not only would you look a little bit, it says silly but stupid, but you could also forfeiture of all pay and allowances, but you could, at a minimum, get 1 year confinement or even a dishonorable discharge for doing that. Now, I guess in the olden days, you had to be slapped in the face with a glove and challenge somebody. I guess that was a manly thing to do. And then you'd go dueling. But you better trust the guy that's on your side to make sure you understand the rule of dueling. I mean, if they're saying, hey, it's 10 paces, and your buddy says, and you go, hey, what'd he say? He said, oh, it's 15 paces. Then your buddy is not somebody you want to trust because you're going to get shot in the back. But dueling was happened back in, the colonial times and stuff like that. Over in England, they did dueling. The French did dueling, on and on and on. But it's still on the books. It's still part of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And, I think they duel in Chicago, don't they?
It sounds like they're doing it.
They call those drive-bys. That's not dueling.
Oh yeah, no, they don't give each other a fair chance. They just wait till hey, they're sitting innocently on the porch and they drive by in a car like it's.
Hey, they're having a wedding. Let's just kill everybody.
Right.
Yeah. And that's sad. But anyway, guys, hey, I know we went over a little bit by a half hour. Good conversation, though.
Hey, well, blame it on me. I came in late. I mean, it was only a few minutes, but hey, I made up for it by giving you an extra half hour. You're welcome.
But if you want to look through the Uniform Code of Military Justice, I did put a link in the description that you can go to, and you can peruse all you want about all the different laws and regulations that soldiers, and it's huge, guys. UCMJ is massive. I think the actual book's about this thick.
Yeah.
And they cover anything and everything in that. Especially pay attention to Article 134 of the UCMJ. That's the catch-all law within the military. But guys, I want to thank everybody for coming in here. Thank you guys for all your great comments and adding to the conversation in the chat. Remember, guys, be kind to one another. Help somebody in need, and always think of that. Any closing words, brother?
Just like usual, guys. Thanks for coming in. Keep sharing us out. Not every episode that we're doing is going to be super serious. We like to have some fun. Still prepare yourselves, right? We want to get more of you up for those open mics every week.
Yep.
Or every month when we do them once a month.
Yep.
Get somebody to come up, do that, and we didn't do a giveaway this week.
Nope.
I know I still owe Jerry Butler. Luckily, he's cruising in Alaska right now. He might be a little delayed on getting his. I know we owe Dawn one. Dawn, you're going to get yours when we get back from vacation. So,
yeah.
But no, appreciate every one of you guys. Like we said, this is our therapy. Much needed every single week. A little flustered coming in tonight because I was running a little late, because I look forward to this every single week. And I know my battle buddy Mike and I, we love doing this, getting that word out, and then just seeing these comments. So we appreciate every single one of you.
Yeah, and next month is Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month. So join us on the 2nd of September for our live. If you can make it, we're going to be talking about that, kicking off the month, because I think it's September 10th is World Suicide Awareness and Prevention Day. But the whole month is dedicated to suicide prevention. And we're going to give you some updated facts about suicide in our veterans and our active military also. So hope you guys can join us on that one. The thumbnail's already up on the channel. So come in and share an evening with us. Anyway, guys, thanks for coming in. We love you. God bless you. We'll see you on the next video. Bye, guys.
Bye now.